real quick before I create this, I got a complete tutorial on creating a helmet, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So I'm super excited to bring you this tutorial in creating a bicycle helmet in Plasticity. This course is for beginners on up, and you should have some basic understanding of the tooling. If not, you can download my free tutorial creating this P and Y thumb drive on Gumroad. The bicycle helmet course will show you how to create complex shapes and give you a better understanding on how to create CAD models with over 7 hours of modeling. This first week of being out will be half off, so come get it before the end of 131. So don't miss out on the special deal. Okay, let's get back to the video. All right, so I already created this actual model, and I thought it'd be good to explain the process as I go through it. So here we go. So first of all, I got the box here and kind of taken the actual box and used the actual offset face and brought it down so it can get a little bit thinner. And then I also use the actual front of this as well. So I went to the side here and pulled this out a little bit too, just to get a nice rectangle. And then on the top view, I kind of went back here and kind of taken some of these edges here and got rid of that one in the center, of course. And then I pulled this out so I had a nice radius, which is a fillet basically. So I pulled it out to something like that. Then just a little bit more, tighten it up a little bit as well. So now I thought it'd be good to kind of use the side of this. So I actually took the side here and actually hit the shift key and selected the other edges as well. So I went around each section here and used the shift key to select them all. Did a shift D here, created a copy, and then I shrunk it down a little bit on the Z axis. So I got my part here now, and I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of thicken this. So I used the thicken tool and brought this out a little bit. About right about there, which is great because it keeps all the edges pretty much aligned. And then I thought it'd be good to take this now and change it a little bit more. So I went ahead and hit the actual rest of this, and I went back to see what I was doing, and I wanted to select the inside edges or the faces. So I went back to the top view here and just kind of rotated a little bit. All right, so now I selected the inner section here and the faces here. Basically, I used the thicken again, but I went inward into the shape, which I thought would work really nice. So I went back to the top view, and then I decided a little bit farther in, as well as I wanted to think about moving this whole thing back up. So I used the object selection and used that to select it, kind of pulled it up. So I hit the G key, I select both sections here, and just try to line it back up to where it should be from the original. So move these in right to the edge there. There we go, right there. And then I hit the OK to accept. Now I hit the inner section and the inside section. I decided to go ahead and select this outer section as well. It went all the way around. And again, I thickened this as well. So this way I had an inner piece and an outer piece. I selected both of these. So here I went Q and then hit Q again to merge them together as one object. So here I unhid the intersection. Select this main object and then this one. I hit the Q key. Make sure you got it selected properly. Q key. After we hit the main one, second one, hit Q. Now we got the red showing. That's exactly what we wanted. Hit the OK. Okay, basically I selected the inner top piece and kind of brought it back down with the offset face. Just to make it a little tighter inside. I think that came out a lot nicer. I'm going to select the line, basically the edge, and select this section here with the Alt key. And I'm also going to select the bottom as well. So Shift, Alt. There we go. I got those all selected all around. And we're going to pull this out a little bit on the plus. So again, it'll be a nice fillet. So I had selected the line here on both sides, on top and bottom, and pulled this out with a fillet to make it nice and smooth and round. Also selected the bottom one as well. And the top with Shift, actually, and the bottom. Make sure I select both of them and pull this out as well. Again, doing a nice curvature with a fillet. Okay, so I selected the actual line down below, and I did a Shift D on that to make a copy of it, and then I brought it up. And here I'm actually using a line to actually connect it to each other and to make it into kind of a face. And basically go into the top view and kind of trying to get this kind of position in a good way. So now I got the line selected. I figured I might want to scale this down a little bit. So again, scale. And I decided to use the actual F key and bring it to the side here and kind of pull it backwards a little bit, just to kind of reduce the actual width of this thing. Just like that. Once I OK, the other part disappears. And now I decided to move this down a little bit with the G key. So bringing it down, trying to equal it out between the two spaces so it looks like it fits in a better way. Something like that is what I thought about doing. All right, so now I've done that. I'm actually now going to basically reposition the line on the backside here so it could be a closed face. And now I did that, select the face, and I'm actually going to use this to kind of pull into the space now. So I'm going to pull that down right into the existing model. I'm good with that there, so I went and hit OK. And now I'm going to actually select this one first and then this one as a second object. I'm going to hit the Q, and then I'm going to use the Shift Q. This way I could actually create two forms. So I'm going to take the top piece here and just delete it. And then I'm going to get rid of this line. Both sections. Just delete them. So basically what I'm doing is trying to get some ideas of what I want to create here. Just going with it. So I'm going to pull out a little bit on as a fillet to make it more smooth around this area here. Even when I'm doing all this stuff, I'm kind of just thinking this through, but I'm actually had to go back and kind of redo some things after the fact, of course, which is pretty simple to do in Plasticity. All right, so now I got two pieces, basically, two forms. This is like the screen of this object that I'm creating. So I'm actually pulling in the inside as well, getting that more of a rounded area instead of a boxy area. So again, select it with the Alt key. And I'm going to pull this out on both sides. So that way I got a nice rotated section there. Just like that. Okay, so I decided to actually put this to the side and hide that other piece. And I'm actually going to go and use the line tool here. So select the line, and then we'll go from the side over here on the left and move to the right. And basically going to use this to kind of help cut a little piece out here. So it looks like something might belong inside. I was thinking about putting some other items into the inner section of this, but never did that yet, but I still might do that later on. But for now, select this point here. And we're going to also do a Control B on that to make that a radius round, basically a fillet. And we'll go with that. Now I'm going to select this actual solid. First, move this up a little bit first, get a little closer, hit OK. And again, I'm going to use the actual, select the object itself, and then use the cutter. So use the cutter tool and then cut, hit OK. Now we take this little section here and just delete it. And then unhide the other piece. So we'll see how that looks. All right, cool. Now I hit the M key on that piece on the top, and I'm actually going to make this 0.2 so you can see through it a little bit. This way to see kind of what is being created inside. And change the color a little bit. Maybe a little bit more bluish. and hit OK. And then I went back to the actual shader so I could see it with reflections and transparency. All right, so I'm going to go in here and do some adjustments. So I decided to go back in and take away all these nice looking bevels. So I'm selecting them all and basically hitting the delete key and make sure I shift alt to select them all the way around. And I just thought about after the creation of this first form that I really wanted to have something created that was different than the norm, make basically a different form from the actually front or right side to the left side, just to make it look like it's not straight, just to make it more complicated. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity here. So I basically took away all the bevels. And again, just sometimes you're doing experimenting. It's good to do the bevels last if you can, just so you don't waste time. Good time to do that's mostly at the end, unless you're doing like some major bevel that has to be used for control of a form. All right, so I went in here and selected this object. I'm using the cutter here. I'm trying to use this to help cut a piece of this away. So I selected this and I hit it. And I selected this section here and hit it as well. So I decided to use the actual point rectangle section here and created another form here. So I pulled it out. And here I used the face and kind of just pulled this down, basically past the original height of the existing unit. I just thought that would look nice. Then I selected the top piece there and I just deleted that section. So yeah, I wanted to kind of create a skinnier piece to a more of a higher piece. And I basically brought a line across just to see where things were, set here, just so I could make sure I position this properly. So again, I used the actual offset face and kind of brought it up to that line so it's actually even with the top. So something like that would work good. Hit OK. I'm going to bring the back a little bit farther back. I decided to change it a little bit, make it a little bit longer. And then I brought this one back a little bit as well. So I wanted some distance between the two forms. Cool. All right, so I went to this side front view here, and I decided to take in a smaller section here from the edge. And I'm trying to emulate kind of what's on the front side, but not exactly, of course. So I'm going to use the mirror here and just do both sides. And then again, I'm going to select the actual object selection tool, select it, and then I'm going to use the cutter. I'm going to select both sides here with the Shift key, Control Shift, and hit OK. Now I'm going to actually take these little pieces here and delete them. Make sure they get both selected, delete them. Okay. And see, that's kind of, similar to the other side, just trying to make it somewhat very similar. Again, now I had to go back in and get rid of some of these other fillets that I did earlier. Use the Alt key, make sure I select all the way around, and then the bottom one here as well. Just makes it much easier to connect these two. If otherwise, you won't be able to connect them really. So it's kind of like I said, I would use the fillets last, especially if you're not set on your design. Okay, so I'm going to delete some of these extra lines here. And I thought it'd be good to take this line and this line and actually hit a Shift D to make a copy of them. Now that I made the copy of those lines, I'm going to use those to kind of connect to, and same at the bottom as well. So Shift D. In all reality, I could have just used the forms themselves to connect each section, but anyway, that's what I did on this. Now I'm going to go down the center here and kind of delete half of it, so that way I have a better method of using the actual surfaces. So I used a cutter here and cut down the middle, and then I got rid of half of the side just to make it this easier. So I just thought it'd be much better to do this. So I'm going to select this whole face here and hit the Shift X to delete it. Now I actually have a sheet instead of a actual solid. Same thing on the other side here. I got to select this sheet here and just do a Shift X again to delete it. There we go. And I'm going to select this one as well, Shift X, and this one over here as well. This way it's just a surface basically. That's kind of the way you work these things when you're doing surface work. So now I'm going to select the top piece here and this piece, and I can delete those. So here I'm going to select these two lines and basically delete them. So I'm going to select these two again. I'm going to hit the F key. So like I said, I didn't use the lines here, I just used the actual main form. Use the F key, and then I'm going to actually go to the actual bridge edge, and I bridge those together with the G2. Just want to see how this looks. Hit OK. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom here. I'm deleting those first. I'm just going to use the form. So let's select those two. Again, F. I'm going to use bridge edge. Hit OK. Cool. So now I'm going to continue to add more lines here. So let's go ahead and select these edges. And again, we're going to continue to do the same thing we just did. So I'm going to select this other line, make sure it's the right one. Again, hit the F key, and again, bridge edge. Again, if you don't have any favorites, just add it if you want, or just look it up and just select it. Hit OK once you got that in place. And now we'll do this bottom one as well. So select it, move it over, select this other one here. Again, hit the F key, and again, bridge edge. And again, we're just doing G2 on all these. Now I might be going back to kind of modifying some of this to make it work. So again, a few more lines here. Try to get everything that connects basically. So select them both. Again, F, BR, bridge edge, and same thing with this one. BR again. Okay, so now we got those all lined up. Let's continue to build some things out. Okay, I just hit OK. So then I'm going to select some of these lines. So one thing I'm going to do is actually use the extrude key to try to kind of form these lines. Because again, it's really good to have that extension added to your lines. So I'm going to use the F key on the corner there and just pull it down so it's straight. And I'm going to do the same thing on this back side here. I'm going to also connect these together with the F, BR, and again, G2. And again, I'm going to select this line. And again, I'm going to extrude this. This I'm going to go straight out, which is fine. Hit the OK. Okay, so now I'm going to select and take this one away. I'm going to delete that because we don't need that line now. And I'm going to select all these 4 sections. So first this one, then this one as well, and the new one that we just created. And I'm going to hit the patch tool. There we go. So I'm going to use G1 on these two sections here, and the rest I'll keep G0. So now I'm basically going to select this with the face tool and actually delete it with Shift X because we don't need that anymore. That's an additional one that we don't need. And I'm going to select some of these lines here and just delete those as well. So select these, select this one, and delete. Okay, so I'm not going to select this line here. I'm actually going to extrude this out again. So I'm going to go to more of the top view here, basically on the Z. And then I'm going to actually hit the E key to extrude and F key on the side here and pull it out. So it's exactly straight. I'm doing that so I can have a nice form. So I'm going to select this here and actually delete it. And I'm going to try to make sure I have this all worked out. So I'm going to select this line, that line, that line, and now this new line. And I'm going to hit the actual patch. And I'm going to also select these as G0 on these here, not that one. Keep those at G0. These could be G1, G1. Again, the form to the form, you got to do that so you don't have a line there. And then hit OK. Great, now we can actually hit Shift X and delete that piece. And that's it for that section. Okay, so now I'm going to select this line right here and that line there with the Shift. And I'm actually going to use the actual, again, extrude, and I'm going to pull from the side over there with the F key. So select that point there and just pull it out. And now I'm going to select these two lines and delete them. And again, I'm just trying to form the edge here. So select this line, and the bottom one here, and as well as this one. So I could connect them together as one. And again, I'm going to hit the patch tool. And that worked great. And again, I'm going to hit G1 there. And G1 on the other side. And the other ones would be G0. Hit OK. Cool. So now we got that section done. A little bit at a time. Let's keep working it. Okay, so now select this with the face selection and select those two and hit the Shift X to delete those. And just, again, cleaning it up. Don't need that anymore. Okay, so I'm going to select these two lines here in the center section here and basically just delete those. So select them. And then we're going to hit the delete key and get rid of those. So here I decided to unhide the other section here. And I'm going to use the Control R to help bring a line to the same edge as where this is at to help me determine where this needs to go. So again, Control R and bring it to the other line there. And we'll go to the top view and kind of just position this in the right place. So pull it out right where it needs to go. And then once it's set in a good place, you can hit the OK button. Got those two lines. I could use those to also pull in a nice G2 line. So I'm going to select the line itself after I hit OK. So select this line and this line. And again, hit the F key. And we're going to do BR again. And this time, we're going to go with G2. OK. Even though it's a straight line, it's fine. Now I'm going to actually extrude this up straight with the F key. And I'm going to also delete this section now. I'm going to select all four of these sections and actually now do the patch. And again, I'm going to select the G1 on this section and this section and leave the other ones at G0. Okay, hit the OK. And go ahead and Shift X this section here to delete it. Okay, so now I'm going to select this edge here, this fillet, and actually delete it. So select all three with Alt and then hit delete. And now it's nice and squared off. And again, we got to continue to drive this. So now we're going to go in and actually select the edge in the intersection as well as the other edge as well on the other side. So select that as well. And again, we're going to hit the F key. And I'm going to use the bridge edge again. This time we're going to hit G0, G0. So I was having some issues trying to connect this. And hit OK. I'm going to extrude that upward with the F key. Hit OK. So I'm going to select these 4 sections here on the bottom section here. And again, hit the patch key. And there we go. Let's go and select G1, G1. Hit OK. Okay, we can select this with the face tool. And again, Shift X. Delete that section there. Right, it's almost getting there. So same thing, we can select this line here. And the line on the other side here. And again, we're going to hit the F key, bridge edge. And again, go back to G0 on both of those, hit OK. Again, they're in the inside. I'm not really worried about these two. So now let's go and use the actual line and extrude it and use the F key to bring it down. Cool. Select the blue line and now go ahead and delete that. Okay, let's go and select these lines now, all 4. That one, that one, that one. And let's rotate it around and select the other side here. This one, hit the patch tool, and there we go. Hit G1 and G1 on this side. Now that did not take. So I went back to G0 for the inside and G0. So that's fine. We're just going to go at G0 for this inner piece. Hit OK. Okay, so let's go ahead and select the face again. Select this piece here and hit Shift X. So now let's go select the lines in here. This one, select that section there. This one, and again hit the patch. And there we go. Now we can hit G1 on that one, G1 on that one, hit OK. Okay, so now I got that section done. I'm going to actually select this edge here and just actually hit the extrude key. So E, and then I'm going to use the F key. So hit the E, F key, and bring it down. Straight down, basically. Not all the way, just a little bit away from the bottom. I'll use this to kind of help drive the intersection here. So hit OK. So we can delete this. All right, cool. So I'm going to select this line here. And basically extrude it. I'm going to go actually with the F key and go the opposite direction. This way I have a nice line to hold to. Hit OK. And we can delete this section here. So I decided to hide everything and just keep those actual lines, those 3 sections. And I'm actually now extruding them out, Control D on those. So I have those extra lines. And just thought it'd be easier to kind of work this by itself. So now I'm actually connecting this line to this line. All right, so now I'm going to actually use the line tool and kind of connect the top and bottom of this section here. So bring that out. And the same thing on the other side here. There we go. And right click. I'm going to take this line and extrude it. Went to the side here use the E key and then the F and move it to the side, just like that. Okay. You can accept that, hit OK. And same with the other one. So we're going to go to the side here. Go to the extrude with the F key to the side. All right, so let's go and select those blue lines and delete those. So that one and this one. Great. And now let's go and select these sections here. All 4 of them. And again, I'm going to hit the cap key. G1 on this one and G1 on this one. The other ones could say G0. Hit OK. Now let's go select the face tool. Select that and hit this Shift X. This one too. And these as well, Shift X. So now we got this piece. So now we can unhide this again. All right, there we go. All right, so now we got that part there. That'll help us, pull this together. So I'm going to take this one and select this other section here. All right, I'm going to extrude this side out as well. And again, delete the blue section. So we're going to select all 4 of these now. And hit the patch tool. And there we go. G1 on this one. And the other ones can say G0. So we're going to go ahead and now delete this side. With that completely open. And we can also select the other section there and hit the Shift X. Actually, I need to really delete this one first, so hit the Shift X. And then we can do that as well. Select the line, this line. Let's just go ahead and connect these first. And again, here we hit the patch tool. There we go. So now we're going to hit G1 there again. All these other ones could be G0. Great. Now it's coming together. I'm basically going to hit the top of the actual. Definitely have to do some adjustments here. So select this and we'll pull it back a little bit. Okay, let's go back to the line selection. And we're going to select these edges here and do a nice little bit of a fillet here. Okay, so we're going to select the inside now with the Alt key and get that whole line inside. And the top one as well. So Shift Alt. And now we got both of those selected. We're going to pull this out and do a nice basic fillet in here. So it's rounded. Just like we did earlier. Now that we've got the form, we can go back and do this. So we're going to pull this just a little bit on the plus. So it seems like we have an issue right here in this corner. It's causing a problem. So we're going to pull this out on the plus. Okay. And we'll do the same thing here. Pull this out again on the plus. Hit OK. All right, so let's go ahead and select the inside now. All right, so we're going to pull this out on the plus. Something like about there. Again, we're going to select this and do a Control C. Hit the OK. And we'll do the top line. Again, hit the Alt key so we get the whole thing around. And let's pull this out on the plus as well. There we go. And then we can Control V in here. And then Control V here. And hit OK. All right, cool. Now we're going to select these outer lines as well. So again, select it with the Alt key. It selects all the way around. And we're going to pull this out as well. This one we actually did a chamfer to give it an edge. Hit OK. Now we're going to actually select it again. The Alt key and both sections. Didn't select the whole thing for some reason. So undo. Again, let's go back. Make sure everything's selected. Okay, now it's everything selected. Let's pull this out on the plus. So right about there, hit OK. Great. All right, now I'm going to actually mirror this unit here and mirror it to the side and also merge halves together. So it becomes basically one. I want to have the whole thing kind of created now. So now I got the main body form, which is looking really good. Happy with this. All right, so I'm going to go in here now and kind of just adjust a few things and kind of do the actual top piece here a little bit now that I got this kind of worked out. All right, so I'm going to actually select this object here, and actually I'm going to just delete it. I'm going to start off with a new object. So I didn't show this, but just go and delete it and start from scratch. So basically start it over with this line. So I'm going to select it again. So the whole thing's selected. I'm going to hit the Shift D, make a copy of this. And then I'll select this object here. Just hide it. Okay, great. Now I got the line set up right. So I'll select these together. Go ahead and take this out. And we can join these together as one. J key. And I'm going to extrude this down just the way it is. And I can select this piece here. Just delete it. Now I'm going to actually select everything with the Alt key. I'm going to do a patch on this. Hit OK. Cool. Same thing on the bottom here. Select the whole thing. Patch it. Hit OK. So I'm going to pull this out on the, actually as a chamfer, just to give it some variations. I'm going to do a little bit more, just to give it a different type of look. I could unhide the main body here to see what that would look like. Yeah, I think that would look nice. So I'm actually going to bring this face a little bit closer so it's actually right on the edge. That way it's connected somewhat. And a little bit closer. Just get right on the edge there. I just need to zoom in a little bit. Hit OK. Now we can select these inner lines here. Both sides. And again, I could pull this out. Again, as a chamfer. So on a negative. So I'm going to get right to the edge of this. Just like that. All right, great. So hit OK. So here I'm just bringing it up a little bit. I'm actually going to select the lines on all these. Just to kind of make it a little bit more rounded. So I'm going to select that line, this line, and the other two on the other side. So I could add a nice bevel on this with a fillet. So pull that out on the plus. That looks good. And I'm going to do the copy that. So I can actually do the same thing on the other part. So now I can just hide this piece. And I could do the same thing on these. So that way it kind of emulates exactly the same thing. So let's pull this out again. So let's go and pull these four out on the plus. And then again, I'm going to Control V and Control V on both sides. Hit OK. Perfect. All right, now we can unhide that piece. All right, so now I'm going to do some adjustments on this object. I'm basically selecting the top piece and pulling this out with a little bit of a fillet up there. And go ahead, OK. All right, so I started out with a box, a rectangle with the center snap, and kind of brought it out and put it right there. And now I'm actually going to extrude this up a little bit. And also I'm going to rotate this so it has a different angle. That's what I was intending to do here. So again, just going to delete that piece on the bottom. I'm going to take this piece here and kind of just pull it out with a chamfer, so it's more of a, so kind of like a little triangle. And then I'm also going to adjust this now. So like the way that looks. And now I'm going to pull this in. So I'm going to hit the actual G key and move this inward and up a little bit. Hit OK. And then I'm going to rotate this as well, so it has a little bit different angle. And a little bit with the G key, something like that. So now I'm going to select this part of the object first, and then this one, and I'm going to hit the Q key to cut this. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm in here. I'm actually going to pull this out a little bit by bringing the face to the right, and I'm actually going to do Control C on copy that. And then I'm actually going to go to the other side and do the same thing and do a Control V. So I'm going to pull this out, but again, I'm going to actually put it in here, Control V, make sure I get the same amount distance. This way it's equal. And then I'm going to go back in and actually select the lines inside this intersection here. And we'll do a fillet on these two. So this one and this one, pull this out on the plus, so it's nice and smooth. And then we'll hit the OK button. And then we can select this whole thing, and we're actually going to pull this out once we get the whole thing selected. On the negative on this one, we're going to do an actual chamfer, and then we'll put a fillet on these edges as well. So let's go and select both of these. Do an Alt, pull this out a little bit with the plus. So you go from a nice harsh edge to a nice round edge, and same thing here. We're going to pull this out on the plus, and there we go. So that makes it look a lot nicer. And then we're going to pull this whole thing out on the plus. So let's pull this out. And not too much, just a little bit. Just to give it a nice edge. And we'll hit OK. Cool. Okay, now I'm going to go to the top and actually select that point there and actually bring out a disk. And this will be like a controller, is what I'm looking at here. And I'm actually going to select the face here and pull this out. About there, hit OK. First, we're going to select the bottom of this, and we're going to get this out of the way, and we're going to scale this down. Hit OK. And then we can actually take the face of this and extrude it into the space. So basically into the other object. There we go. And hit OK. Cool. Now we can select the objects, this one and this one, and then we can hit Q. And there we go. So we've taken care of that. And we go in here and select the object, and we can hit the G key, and we can move this down into the actual part. This will make it a lot nicer looking. Hit OK. And we can go to the top view, and we can actually use the line tool here to help us define what we're doing. So I'm going to go all the way across. And I'm going to use the cutter to cut part of that out, just to give it a different form, kind of like an edge. And then I'm going to select these two sections here, or at least this one first, pull it out on the plus, and this one as well. So it's nice and rounded. Hit OK. And we're going to also pull these two out because that was a chamfer, and we're going to make this nice and soft and round on the edges with the fillet. All right, cool. So now we can select this and push this back in again. And we're going to use this to cut into it. So first of all, we're going to select the object. So we're going to select the edge on this one and kind of pull this out. A bit smaller like that. All right, cool. And then we can actually take this face and push it down into this space. And now we can select the object here and here. And we do a Q on that one to delete the inside. Okay, so I thought we'd add some more detail to this to make it look nicer. So I'm going to bring out a rectangle on the center of this. And then I'm going to actually extrude this out with the face selection and push it into the space, just like that. Hit OK. I'm going to pull this whole thing out a little bit just so we don't. Basically, I want to make sure the whole thing gets covered. All right, cool. I'm going to use the line tool and kind of use this to kind of help me cut some sections out. I'm going to go out here and pull it in or outward. There we go. I'm going to go down a little bit, back out again. Bring it down, back out again. Again, we're just making some different shapes here to make it look nice. A little bit out that way and then back in, just like that. Now we can actually select this object here and use the cutter, which is that, and then cut it. Hit OK. Let's take the other piece away, delete it. And we could also now take this whole piece and kind of move it outward. So select it, hit G, and we'll move it straight out. There we go. Here we're going to pull this out a little bit more. I want to make sure that we don't, when we cut this or bullying this together, it will look nicer if it's kind of away. So I can bring this down a little bit. Okay. Let's go select this line and delete it. And I'm going to go back in here now and start using the actual sections here to create a chamfer. This would be a chamfer. And then I'm going to do these inner pieces. That one, that one, that one. A few of them basically. These as well. And we're going to actually control click that one. And now let's pull this out on the plus. There we go. Hit OK. I'm going to select this section right here and pull this out. We use a chamfer and hit OK. And then again, we'll do the same thing. We'll take these two lines here and actually do this on a plus. So it's actually a fillet. And let's go and select this. Let's go select these couple pieces on top here and also pull this out on the plus. This way it's easy to select the whole thing. Now let's select this area here and also pull this out on the plus with a fillet. All right, just to add a little more detail here, I'm going to select this line here with the Alt key. And this one. And I got to make sure I select this though. So select this first, pull this out on the plus. You can have everything circular so you can actually select the whole thing. So now I can select it. Perfect. Now I can actually pull it out on the plus. So a nice fillet. Great. Hit OK. Now let's go ahead and do a radio ray on this one. So we'll select the object, hit the radio ray, and we'll go on to the top view. There we go. Hit the radio ray, and now select the middle section here. We're going to bring this up though. So let's add more. Go around 47. Hit OK. So now we're going to connect these pieces with the inner piece and actually hit Q and then Q again so we can actually boolean them together and go ahead and hit the OK. So I selected that and the inner disk, and now it's combined as one. So now I'm going to select this section right here, the Alt key, and pull this out. Make sure this is on the plus as well. Hit OK. Same thing on this other side here. Pull this out on the plus. Again, hit OK. All right, it's getting closer. So we're going to select this inner piece and pull this out so it's nice and rounded inside. All right, so now I'm going to create a circle on top of this to kind of cut in a hole, basically. So I'm going to bring this out to the edge over here, kind of like near the edge, so that way it all fits in place. And I'm actually going to use this to push it through. So select the face and bring it down into the space and hit OK. Now I'm going to use this to cut into the main object. So select the main object. Okay, so let's select the main object. Okay, so I got the main object selected, and then I'm going to select this object, and I'm going to cut this in with the Q key. There we go. And that's fine where that's at. Keep tool. And then I'm going to also select this as well and cut that as well. So make sure you keep it. So again, select the first one, and the second one, and then cut it, and then you delete this one. Perfect. Now you got the hole that you need. All right, so now we select this line here and just delete it. Okay, first of all, before I do that though, I want to actually select this section and this section and hit Q twice to make it into one object. This will make a much better connection here. And I'm going to select this line here and pull this out with a fillet. And yeah, that looks a lot better. And then we could just do these little edges here. So select them, select both, and pull it out on the plus. Perfect. Now it looks like it's part of the actual object. Now we select this inner piece all the way around. And again, pull this out on the plus. So another fillet. And then hit OK. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and now unhide the actual button that I had created and do some work on this. So I'm going to actually go in and select the actual inner piece, the face. So select the face and select the inner piece here. And actually, I'm going to undo that. I'm just going to do a actual Shift D and make a copy of this and bring it. And actually, I'm going to extrude this up. So actually make a button inside of this, just like that. Hit OK. And now I'm going to select the line here and make it more like a rounded button. Okay. And then I think I'm going to add some different variations here. So I'm going to select the face here around the bottom of this. I'm going to bring this down a little bit or up a little bit to make it more of a head. Okay. I'm going to select this section here. I basically did a Shift D and took that out. I'm going to select this, and this, and that, and basically deleted that. Now I'm going to actually take this and I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to make sure this becomes solid. I'll take the bottom here and actually do a cap on this or patch it. Hit OK. Another thing I want to do is just kind of just make that a little bit more rounded there. I also want to pull this out a little bit. Hit OK. I'm going to actually bring this down back into the space, right into the actual hole there. All right, so I'm going to actually take this piece right here and actually use the extrude. So hit the E key and let's push it in the negative and hit OK. I'll use this to actually make this little hole here to put the part in. Now that didn't go over, let me go ahead and pull this again. Okay, there it goes. For some reason, it didn't actually offset the face. I'm going to select this inner piece and kind of pull it out again with a chamfer. Actually with a fillet, and hit the OK button. All right, now I'm going to unhide that, and now we have that all worked out. So now I'm going to take the edges off to see what it looks like, and it's coming along very well. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit more, both of these two pieces. This thing was too high. Now it looks a little bit better. Hit the OK button. All right, so basically right now I'm going to mirror this section over. So I'm going to select the main form here and actually hit the mirror so I can actually get the form itself on the body. So just do the opposite side. There we go. Hit OK. So that's the first step. Second is to select the button and the other piece as well. And again, we're going to hit the mirror. Select both of those items again. Mirror, opposite side. There it goes. And then hit the OK button. Okay, perfect. I should just merge the actual body again to itself, but like we can always hit Q twice. All right, so now we're going to select both of these sides with the object selection and hit the Q twice so we can actually merge these together. So Q, Q, and then hit OK. All right, cool. So I must have deleted part of the video, but basically I merged a couple of these faces together and I got rid of that line. I'm going to select the main line here and actually pull it out. This way it's a lot easier. Just hit the J key to join those surfaces together. And now you can actually expand this a lot better. So then I'm going to hit the O key and expand this out. It's about right here. Before I couldn't even do that because the line was in the way. So sometimes you just need to merge the faces. So hit OK. Cool. I'm going to select this whole thing with the face selection all the way around. And I hit the Alt key. And then I'm going to actually extrude this with the E key and bring it up. Not too much, but right about there. Okay, hit OK. So again, I actually created a couple discs that were extruded out, and I must have just moved the video or something. Anyway, I'm going to unhide the object that I made earlier, just kind of emulate what I have here. And you can actually put it on top of the actual monitor. So if you unhide it, I'm going to unhide mine, of course, but you just got to create something similar to this and then mirror it to the other side. And I got it pretty much right on the edge, so I can combine these kind of together as a part. If that makes sense. All right, so I got these two. And now I need to make more copies of it. So select the object selection. I'm going to go to the top view, and I'm actually going to hit Shift D so I can move it down. So use the arrows to bring it down. Okay, so Shift D, and I'm going to bring it down. Pretty much closer to the corner there is what I'm looking for. I'm going to bring this out a little bit with the G key, kind of like on the edge there. It's kind of what it looks like it supports. And then I'll do another Shift D and I'll bring another one down to the other corner. About right about there. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to actually select these objects that I created, the disk. And I'm actually going to mirror that to the other side, just like that. I want to make sure I select it. So there we go. So I got them on now 4 corners. And again, just make sure the one on the right side is the same as the top one. And that's pretty much it. 6 of those discs. Okay. So now I select all these. First of all, I want to actually select this section here. And hide it for now. I'm going to select the inner section of this edge here. So selecting that now, I'm actually going to offset this. Okay, so I'm actually going to select the face here and go all the way around. And I'm going to make a copy of this. So once I get the whole thing selected, I'm going to hit the Shift D. And I'm basically going to hide that one. And then I'm going to actually get this one here again. And I'm going to push it through. So I'm going to offset the face back, the opposite way, downward into the space. So basically goes a little bit below. Just like that, hit OK. And I could actually pull this closer or a little bit higher out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to extrude it into the existing one. Let's bring it down a little bit. Trying to make sure I make this into a solid, basically. Hit OK. Now this is now exactly a solid. That's what we wanted. Okay, now we select this actual edge. And we can actually hide that for now. So I'm going to select the object selection. And I'm going to select all these, including the main form. And I'm going to hit the actual Q, keep tool, and hit OK. So basically, it created a hole in the main body. And I, for some reason, forgot that one. So again, we're going to select the main body and then this one. Hit again Q, keep tool. There we go. Hit OK. Okay, so I'm going to select this and scale this down just a little bit. I'm going to actually copy this number here, Control C. Or actually put in just 0.90, make it easier. And put them on all three. So it's pretty consistent. And again, hit the scale on this and bring it down a little bit. Again, Control. Actually, I just should have done Control C, Control V. I'm just typing all these in now. 1090. Hit OK. And we'll do this one as well. Scale it down. Type it in. 0.90. 0.9. 0.9. Hit OK. Now, the easiest way is just to take these three over here and just delete those and mirror them over. So select all three, delete them, and then go back to these other three. We can just mirror those over. So we hit the mirror. Now the better way of doing that would have been to mirror this after the fact, but that's okay. So I'm going to select the actual pieces again and the main edge here and select all these so it can actually be like a part of the unit itself. So selecting all these, hit the Q and then Q again and hit OK. So it becomes one piece. I'm going to select the line on each of these edges. Let's go all the way around. Should we get them all? And this last one. Should be a total of 6. Okay, let's pull this out. Just put a chamfer there. Hit OK. I'm going to select each of these top pieces all the way around. And this one is last. All right, cool. Now let's go ahead and bring this down a little bit. Hit OK. So go ahead and select the line. Let's select all 6 of these. All right, so I'm going to select each of these top sections with the actual line selection. And that way I can actually pull them with a fillet so it's nice and round. Great. Once I like what I see, I'm going to hit the OK. Got all 6 of them. All right, hit OK. I'm actually just going to select the top piece here and do a Shift D and bring it up. And again, I'm going to make another copy of this as well. Shift D, bring it down. And this one I'm going to scale down. So So it has a cutter, basically. So go and select it, hit the SS, scale it down, just like that. Hit OK. Now we can actually do the line to line. Do an L. Actually, we're going to select these now. Scale them down a little bit more. Scale this one down. Cool. I'm going to select the face. So select this face, that face. And we can actually hit the L key to loft. Hit OK. Now we actually select this object. So select it. Let's go to the side view a little bit. See what I'm doing. Pretty much on the side here so I can see what I'm doing. I'm not going to affect other objects this way. I guess bring it closer. Select it. And we're going to hide that for now. And delete those. Okay, so hide this now. All right, select it. Just going to click on Find. Okay, I'm going to select the center of this. Bring this out with the rectangle center point. Now I've created it, I could bring it up. It's way down at the bottom there. So again, hit the G key, bring it up, straight up. And I'm going to go just a little bit to the side here. See what I'm doing. So I'm going to do Shift D, bring it down, and bring it in. There we go. Hit the OK. And we select these points. We pull this out. Just a little bit on the plus. Hit OK. So select face to face. We hit the L to loft. There we go. Let's select this section here. Hit the delete key and this one on the bottom. Again, delete. Now we actually select this line. Bring it down a little bit. Okay, select this with the Alt key. Let's make this more of a fillet. Hit OK. Okay, now we're going to do a radial ray on the side here. And we'll select the main object itself. I'm just going to go with 8. Select this one too. Hit Q, Q. Hit OK. And we can move this into place. So go a little bit above the top of that section. So I'm going to do a Shift T on this. And then I'm going to use the G key and hit the F and then bring it to where I need to go. Again, G, F again, actually Shift D again, make a copy, bring it over. with the F key. Let go. Hit OK. Again, Shift D. So what we could do is just select all three of them and mirror to the side. That'd be easier. So I got all three selected now. Mirror. Right, now we're going to go to the side. Hit OK. All right, cool. Now we can select the main object. And then we can select these other 6 center sections. We'll do a Boolean on this. Select that one, Shift. And there's 2 more on top. This one and this one. Cool. Hit the Q key. Say OK. Basically made like a screw design on top. That looks nice. So I'm going to select these little sections here around this screw. And pull this out on the plus. First, we're going to select all of them, though, all the way around. So I'm going to fast forward this part. It's redundant. Okay, so now I'm going to actually select the 2 sections over here at the face. I'm going to hit the J to kind of combine them together. So let's go and select each of these faces and then hit J. Becomes one. I'm going to do the same thing over here. This and this, hit J, and it becomes one surface. Great. Now I could take this main face on the top. I'm going to do a Shift D on that to make a full copy of this. Make sure I select the back piece as well. Okay, Shift D. And then we can hit the G key and move it up a little bit. Okay, so that went out a little bit. Hit G. Make sure you use the blue only. Okay, cool. Now we can select this and extrude it down. So select both sections. And again, hit E to extrude, to bring it down. Straight down. Not too much, just a little bit. Just trying to get another top section that kind of breaks up the top piece itself. Just give some characteristics. Make it look nice. All right, cool. We'll go with that. Now we select this top piece and kind of just bring it down just a little bit. Just so it's a little too high. Hit OK. Now we select this piece here with the Alt key, and we can pull this out with a fillet. So it's more smooth on this top piece. About there. Okay, I selected the whole thing and just moved it down for now. We're just at other sections a little bit. All right, so hit the OK. That we moved it. All right, so I just isolated this top piece and hit everything else. And bring this out. First, actually, I'm going to use the line tool here and kind of just bring this out, actually. So bring this out to a certain edge here. I'm going to bring it at a different angle, about right there, and bring it back in. I'm going to use this to help cut this piece off, so it gives some just different characteristics of design. So now I'm going to select these 2 and actually hit the actual Control B and make that a nice fillet. And now that I've done that, I'm actually going to use the rectangle array and bring a few out so they have more of a design throughout. Bring it up a little bit more. Using that line to help me direct this and bring this down to about 6 of these cutouts. Then hit OK. Okay, I went ahead and copied 2 to the other side just to kind of help me base the 2 sections into one type idea. So I just thought it'd be good to use this to kind of help me work this out. So I'm going to select these points here and delete them. I think I'm going to reconnect these 2 parts together. That way it has the same form. And then I'm going to use the Control key to select both lines and join them together. Hit J. There we go. So here it just did a Shift D and copied it, moved it down. All right, so now I'm going to select the main object, this piece here on the top. And I'm going to actually use this to cut it. So I'm going to use the cutter. So again, select the cutter. And then select all these pieces here, as well as the other side. So Shift, hold that down. There we go. Hit OK. Now I've actually done that. I'm going to just hit the delete key. All right, so I basically hit the delete key and deleted those sections. Sure, I thought I would share some of this since I deleted some of this film, recording. So I'm going to show you some things here to get some understanding. So when I created this shape, for instance, I actually brought it in like this, just like this. And then I took these 2 points, of course, and hit the B key and did an actual small bevel. And with that, when I did this, perfect. So once this is done, then we actually want to do an actual rectangle array. Now, one thing to keep in mind is a lot of times it doesn't align right. See how it's kind of moving over to the left? And it always hits like the line wherever you might be. So you really have to zoom in, like try to hit that center spot where the white is, and just kind of stay along that line to make sure it holds, basically. And once you get it where it holds, you can let go, of course. Now, what I did also on this part of the film that actually I deleted was I used this, and then I used a cutter, and then I just cut this section right here, hit OK. And then once I do that, just hit the delete key. So the whole thing just goes away, right? Now, what I did after that was I actually used the line selection here, and I selected this with the Alt key, and I did a Shift D here. And then that made a copy. And then I also used a line here to here, right click. And then I just connected both of these together with the J key. So I selected both, hit a J, and it became its own, like basically object. So then I did a Shift D here and I actually made a copy of this, and I brought this down. So I hit this down to bring it down, just like this. And what I also did was take in this section here and hit the S twice and just scale this down a little bit, because this is going to be the button inside. Now, another thing that I should have done in the first place was taking these, basically these 4 sections here. Again, hit the B key. We're going to pull this on the plus, and we'll do something like this. Now, I don't want this exactly at the end here, so I'm going to scale this down as well. So hit S twice, just bring it down just a little bit. There we go. So now I use basically the 2 faces here, this face, and I use the L key to actually form the button. Now I actually took the existing piece and kind of scaled it down a little bit and made it into kind of like a squared end. And that way I can use this to kind of help create a button, basically. So I used the same form and just kind of shrunk it down, and then I added it together at the ends. Then added a little bit of a fillet there to make it nice and rounded. Okay, so what I decided to do here is actually take this, again, this section here on the top, this surface, and I created a copy of it. So I did a Shift D. And I'm actually bringing one down now to make sure that I used one that was scaled down and one that was scaled up. So that way I have more of a taper type of effect here. So I brought it down, and then I'm just got rid of this existing original object that I created, and then basically just use the loft to create the object. So again, I wanted to scale this up. So it's pretty much the same as the edge. This way it has a little bit of a different look to it. So I went to the top view to make sure I could do this a little bit better. So I scaled it. Made it a little bit wider than the existing, of course. Just like that. Okay, so what I did here is I made that extra copy for the button itself, but I also kept the extra first unit. I made a copy of this and going to bring this down now basically with the rectangle array. I'm going to use this to cut into the thing and also use it in the blue to actually make the button, if that makes sense. So doing two things with this setup. So I'm going to center this off of this space right here, right down on the bottom there, make sure it's centered, and it's centered itself all the way through. So hit OK. So now that I got these all lined up, that's perfect. And we can use that to help cut into the main form. So I'm going to hide that for now. And I'm going to go back now and select basically the two faces here. So select the face selection, select that one and this one. And we're going to hit the L key to loft them together. So now that we've done that, it's like the button basically. So I'm going to select these two and actually delete these. So they're off this list here. And now that I got the button kind of created here, I'm going to go in and now make this a nice fillet on top. So it's two different objects. The one we hid earlier is the button or the actual cutout, and this is the actual button, if that makes sense. All right, cool. So now I've created that. Now I'm going to go and actually select the edges of this whole piece and kind of make it a nice, soft, rounded bevel. Okay, so now I've done them all. Pull that out on the plus, and that looks good. We're going to hit the OK to accept. Cool. Now we're actually going to select the button that we just created and actually hide that and bring in the other part because I need to cut into that other space. So again, hide it with H, and we're going to basically take the other piece and actually unhide it. So go ahead to that one right there, unhide. And now we're going to actually unhide the main object and we use that to cut this stuff into. So there we go. We got the main object back in here now. And we're going to make sure we select the main object first. And now select the other pieces that we're going to cut into the actual main object with. So select all those with the Shift key. And then we're going to actually hit the Q to cut it out and hit OK. So now to actually cut the holes into the object itself. Now I'm going to actually select the lines on all these. So go ahead and hit Shift key and Alt. And we're going to select each of these. Basically do the same thing. We're going to pull this out to give it some space. Okay, so all those are selected now. Hit the B. And then just pull this out on the plus. Actually, because it's such a small area, we could just do a chamfer. We'll go with the negative here instead. Adds less polys that way for these smaller sections. Hit OK. Okay, now we can go back to the button that we created. Make sure we unhide it. And now we're going to use this to kind of make copies of this with the rectangle array again throughout the space. So select the object. And let's go back to the Z on top. And again, radio array. And we'll go down to the center of this. Now zoom in a little bit to make sure that we line up properly. There we go, right there. Left click. Make sure it's actually on that spot right there. Great. Now we could actually hit the OK button to accept. All right, cool. So that's how that was created. So now I'm going to select all these. Hit the M key to give it a little bit different color. So here's where I started kind of adding some variations of colors, just to kind of, add some clarity what those are. So just different materials here. Okay, I wanted to unhide the lines here, the edges, see how this looks. And that's coming out really nice. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, exact as what we just did on the other side, on the right side. So I'm going to fast forward this. So basically what I've decided to do here now is bring the line straight down so I can actually center it. I'm going to use the actual rectangle section with the middle point to kind of bring this out. I wanted to bring a form onto the top of this to kind of make it stand out a little bit. So I created just a rectangle, went back, selected the points, and now I'm going to do the B key to actually do a nice fillet here to make it more rounded. And good with that, hit OK. Actually, what I'm doing here now is I actually did a Shift D to copy this and bring this up. So I'm going to scale this down. So it actually has bigger to smaller type tapering. And I moved it on SS, and then I brought it in just on the actual Y. So it's more, symmetrical. And once that's good, I hit OK, and that's it. I deleted this line, and I'm going to go back in and select it. So select the bottom one and the top one, and hit L to loft. Cool. Now I select these two lines after I hit OK. And select the line tool, and then select these and delete it, and the one on the bottom. But first we're going to pull this out, make it nice, smooth. Fill it there. Hit OK. Now we could actually select the object, and we're going to actually hit the G key and move it down a little bit into the space. And then we can get rid of this line. first of all, let's get rid of that first, delete it. Now select the top piece and the bottom piece, and we're going to hit Q to merge them together. All right. I'm going to actually select the line. I'm going to pull this out again on the plus. So a nice smooth transition. So about right there. And hit OK. So I deleted that piece on top to kind of redo this because I just didn't like the way it was coming out. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more just to kind of, get it a little bit closer to the bottom section there. And then I went ahead and used the line tool again, select it with Alt, and just pull this out on the plus. I'm going to go with like 0.0012, something like that. And I think that looks good. And I'm going to take off the lines and see how that looks. So hit OK. All right, so that looks nice. So let's keep going. So here I selected the other three buttons and actually hit the M key to add in a material. And I use the same blue color basically as the ones on the right, just to get the basic button color. Okay, now I'm going to work on adding in the little type of legs on the front side of this. So I'm going to basically on the Z axis, the bottom, and I'm pulling this out to kind of define the space a little bit. I think that looks good right there in the way of spacing. I'm going to get it closer to where this section is, so it's similar in location. And I'm good with that. So now that I've got that created, I'm going to make sure I move this down into place. So bring it down. Go to the side here, see what I'm doing. I want it to be basically on the floor. Right there. And then I'm going to actually take this and basically extrude it. So let's hit OK. Select the face and extrude upward. Right into the model itself. You can see it go through. Hit OK. So I'm now going to mirror to the other side and do the same thing. All right, so now I'm going to select the main object and now select the legs. So both of them. And then I'm going to hit the Q key. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to select the face of this and actually pull this up a little bit. So it's still on the floor, just like that. I'm going to select the line here. Actually, I'm going to bring this up a little bit and scale this down. And now I'm select these two and actually add in a fillet. So it's nice and rounded on the edges. And that looks good. Hit OK. So here I'm actually adding in a part. I want to use this to kind of help drive a design on the edges. So it's something that makes it easier to basically unscrew the item. So I'm going to cut this and bring it into the space. And I'm going to select this and delete it. So I'm going to move this out just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to bring this out just a little bit farther. And I'm going to scale this up a little bit on the actual x-axis. Hit OK. Now select the face and just bring it out a little bit more. And that looks good. So then I'm going to work on the sides. So I need to select the actual lines. So go back to the line selection, select each of these sides, and just pull this out. On this, I did a chamfer, and then I'm going back in and do the actual chamfer edges and make those smooth. So select all 4 lines now. Pull this out on the plus. Just like that. Hit OK. I'll give it a nice look. All right, cool. So now I'm going to select this, and we're going to use the actual radial array. First, I'm going to move it in just a little bit. Okay. Now radial array, and we're going to select the center of this spot right there. And we're going to increase the amount here. So we'll go up to around 20. Hit OK. All right, so let's select the main disk, and now let's go and select these other pieces. So we can do that with the left mouse, hold it with the shift, and then I'm going to hit Q and delete those. Great. Now we select the lines. Just go down the center of this. And we can pull this out. A little bit on the plus. Something like that, 0.01, 0.0012. All right, that looks nice. Make sure I got them all. Hit OK. Okay, now I'm going to go back and actually select this line. And again, I'm going to bring this up. And shifty it, so I got a copy of it. And we're going to use this to help drive a cut into this spot. So hit the faces on both of these. And we're going to do L to loft them. Hit OK. Now we can select this line. Delete that. And this line, we could hide this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in a nice fillet so it's nice and smooth. Hit OK. I'll select the object and let's drive it into the actual part. So about right about there, hit OK. Now select that and select this, and we could hit the Q, and that creates a nice little design there. So now I'm going to select this line here. Just pull this out. Gives a little bit more smoothness on the plus. Hit OK. Now we're going to select this and do a Shift D. And we can actually scale this down. Perfect. And then we can now extrude this back upward, right back into the space. There we go, just like that. So now we can actually take this, just hide it, and this as well. I need to be able to see what I'm doing with this. So I'm going to push this in just a little bit into the space here. And I'm going to pull that up a little bit more. There we go. I'm going to use the actual spiral, and I'm going to bring it over to the side here and bring it down and just kind of bring it to the edge here. Put up the turns. Something like around 10.5 or so. Go with that. All right, so now I'm going to actually create a disk here on the edge. And select the face of this. And I'm going to use the sweep. So it goes all the way around. Hit OK. Okay, now we select the main object and then select the actual spring. And we can actually hit the actual Q key to delete. Cool. Now we're just going to do a little bit of fillets on this to make it nice. So let's go ahead and select that. We can delete it. We can select this and this, or this. Let's pull this out. On the plus. First, we'll go to the top here and pull this out. Again, nice smooth roundness here. Okay, hit OK. Now let's go and select this little area right here and pull this out. Again on the plus. Perfect. And this section right here as well. You're not even going to see this little section here, but anyway, just try to make it nice. Guess I use it somewhere else. All right, it's about there. Hit OK. Now go and select this line and let's pull this out. I make this nice and smooth and round. Hit OK. And now this line. Pull it the other way on the plus again. Right about there. Cool. All right. That looks good. Hit the OK. So I'm going to hide this stuff so I can see how this looks. And that came out really nice. All right, let's go and select this line, this edge, and this edge. Again, we're going to pull this out. This on a fillet. Hit OK on the plus. So I'm going to select these two and go to the side here and just mirror this over to the other side. There we go. Hit OK. So I'm going to select the line on the bottom here. We're going to add some detail on this as well. So we're going to pull this out. This time I decided to do a chamfer on the bottom. Hit OK. And I'm going to select this with the Alt key and then Shift Alt. Then I'm going to pull this out again with the plus on, making that fillet. So it's rounded. And that looks good right there. Hit OK. So I decided to do another section right here on the bottom. I didn't record this part here, but just take these lines just like I did on top. Similar. Just kind of make those more rounded. Selected this as well. Hit the B key. Pull this out. A little bit smoother. And then I copied this whole thing, this line, and brought it down. All right, so go ahead and select the line selection. And let's make a copy of that, Shift D. And this will bring this down. So it's right below it. Hit OK. Thought I also would maybe want to just mirror this to the side. Hit OK. And again, I'm going to take this piece on the top now and just cut it with this so that it would look nicer to cut that piece out. So use the cutter, select these two lines and these two, the Shift key, and hit OK. So now I'm going to select those 4 pieces and delete them. So basically, I just cut those pieces out. And I just change the color a little bit here on the main. More of a bluish color. And that's pretty much it. All right, so I basically added different colors to different things to kind of break it up a little bit with the materials. And a couple things I noticed that this button was sticking through part of the edge here. So I needed to kind of fix that. So I selected the item. And I basically wanted to go back in and kind of just modify this. So I went ahead and just hit everything here just so it's easier to get to this. So select the main body, hide. And I was pretty much going to go with all these bottoms here. So I selected the face tool. And what I did was I went to the side here and just kind of like brought it closer and just selected the whole thing with the shift key. So it's a much easier way to do it. And then I just right clicked and did a control on the other part. So that way I can kind of help move this right. And then I just used offset face and brought it upward basically out of the way. Once it's high enough, it's not in the way of the button. Another way I could have done this, of course, is just use a line and just cut right through everything. And that would have been easy as well. But anyway, seems to be some issue here with this being pulled. So I must have something else selected here, not realizing it. So I'm going to go and select it again. Make sure I select that all again and deselect all those things. I think that's a better selection now. Now I'll move it out. And that worked. So I went about there and hit OK. All right, so now I'm going to actually select these lines on this other section here and actually add in a nice fillet to make it look nice as well. So I don't want to forget these. So go ahead and hit the Alt key and select this section and all the ones around it. So continue to select these. Select this one as well with the Shift key and then the other side as well. So this one as well. And then this one. Cool. Now let's go ahead and pull this out on the plus, just like we did in the one before. Go in the plus just a little bit. So about right about there looks good. So we're going to put 0.002. All right, so hit OK. That looks good. So just selecting this part of the object here and just bring this up a little bit with the G key. Just felt it needed a little bit higher. Not that much, just a little bit. Cool. So here I actually created a rectangle earlier and with the center snap right in the middle and brought it out. And this is the same shape that I created earlier. I just shrunk this down a little bit, make it a little smaller so I don't have it too wide. And I'm going to go in there and actually select the points. First thing that I'm going to do is actually select the extra object here and just hide these things because they're kind of in the way. It's the right shape. It's exactly the right angle. So anyway, I'm going to take this shape now and I'm going to actually just use the actual extrude to extrude it into the shape, just like that. Hit OK. I'm going to select the edges on these things now and actually pull it out so it's a nice rounded fillet on this shape. So I'm going to show edges, make sure I see what I'm doing. So again, this is pull this around on the plus. So smooth, something like that. Hit OK. So this piece is kind of like a vent or speaker or something like that, just to kind of get some variation to the object. And got it in place now. I'm going to actually hit the G key and I'm actually going to use the V key. So I'm going to use the V key, get it right down the center, and then we use the blue to pull up. So that way it goes straight up at the right angle. All right, so I went to the Z axis and I'm actually going to create another basically rectangle right in the middle of this, kind of to actually add in some holes. I'm going to bring this down a little bit, just kind of zooming in a little bit more, getting closer. And I'm good with that. I'm going to select both of these ends here and make them a little bit more of a radius. So again, hit the B key, let's pull this down. On the plus, hit OK. And I'm going to also just basically get this position better. So again, I'm going to hide this and hide this. to the side view here. I'm going to select the line here and just rotate it with the R and rotate it so it equals the same shape basically as what I see here. Just kind of lining this up so it goes straight in, just like that. Cool. Hit OK. Again, we'll hit the V key to move this with the G key upward a little bit. Hit OK. I'm going to select this face and bring it down with the extrude. So hit E into it, just like that. I don't want to go through it, just want to get close to it. Hit OK. As far as we can. Okay, hit OK. All right, so we're going to move this now over to the side. So hit the G key, or select the object, of course. G key and move it over. So we're going to move it on the X, and we're going to put it about right here. And now we're going to do the actual rectangle array, and we're going to bring this out to about the same side on the other side here. And I'm actually going to go now in there and change the amount of this spread here. So I have quite a few of these. Do like 32. I think that looks good. Hit OK. Now we're going to select the main object here, as well as all these other objects. So hit the Shift key. So we select all of them, just like that. Now we can do Q, and that's it. Now it created the holes in all these. Okay, we can select this now and delete it. I'm going to select the edges of all these right here, and I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to select these ones here and the other one on the other side. And we're going to pull this and make it a little bit nicer. So I decided to do a chamfer on this one. Just a little bit out, and hit OK. Okay, we can unhide that again. See how this is looking. All right, so I'm going to select this edge here and hit the Alt key, and I'm going to pull this out, make it nice and rounded. Again, a fillet. And then I'm going to hit this edge here so I can actually use it to cut the main shape here. So I'm going to select the whole thing with Alt key. I'm going to hit the Shift D. So Shift D. Now I'm going to actually hide this. Let's go back to the shape itself. I'll go ahead and pull this out. So extrude it with E. There we go. Now we can actually unhide that shape again. And now we're going to take these two shapes and actually do a Q on them. All right, so let's select the main shape first, and then the shape. And we're going to hit the Q. And hit. Make sure it's done right. Let's do this again. Q. Actually, we might need to pull this up a little bit. So I'm actually going to get right on with the V to get the right angle. Pull this up a little bit. There. You select this and then select that. Again, hit the Q and hit OK. Now we got that little cutout. And we'll select the line here and just kind of add a little bit of detail here. So pull that out. Doing this as a actual chamfer. Hit OK. Now we can unhide the main object. There we go. So in this section here, I'm going to go ahead and create another section here with the square or rectangle with the center. And I'm going to bring it right over here to the middle section here. And I'm going to create a little bit of a fillet so it's nice and rounded on the edges. And basically creating an area to put a button. I'm also going to create another section here. Okay, so now I got that rounded. I'm going to actually use the face selection right here. Select that, and I'm going to push this in with the extrude into the space. So I'm putting a hole into this basically. And I'm good with that. I'm going to select the bring that down a little bit more. Okay, cool. So I'm going to select the object here. I'm going to select this section here. I'm going to hit the actual Q and hit OK. So now I'm actually going to go in and create another section here. And this is going to be like a hole for the actual switch to be put into so it goes up or down to go on or off. So again, I put that there. And now I'm actually going to delete this and select this and push it down into the space. Hit OK. Again, I'm just going to put a little bit of edge on these. So pull this out. So hit B. Get a little closer. Pull this like that. Hit OK. And we could actually select this and delete it. So now we can unhide it. Let's select this part of the object. And this part. And we're going to hit Q again. We're going to bring this up a little bit though. So again, hit this object. We're going to push this up a little bit first. Like that. All right, so let's go and select the face here. We're going to move it up a little bit. Hit OK. All right, so let's go and pick the main object here. And now let's pick this object. Hit Q and hit OK. Now we can actually delete this or hit the Q again, make sure it did the right thing. Oh, there we go. All right, so let's select the line here. We can pull this out. This would be a chamfer. Great. All right, so I'm going to use the rectangle again. And I'm going to get onto the top view here. I'll bring this out close to the edge here. This time I'll select the other box. So about here and move it out to the other side. There we go. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to hit the face here and actually extrude it upward. Great. Hit OK. Now we can get these edges to make it more rounded. So select each corner. Again, hit the B key and pull this out. Hit OK. All right, we're going to pull this out again. Okay, we can move this down a little bit into the space. Hit OK. You can select that and delete it. Okay, select this edge here with the Alt and pull this out. Did that as a chamfer. Negative. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hide this so I can get in there a little bit closer. I'm going to use the face right here, select it, do a Shift D. And then I'm actually going to bring this down. Actually, I want to scale a little bit. All right, so I got that hidden. And actually now I'm going to take this piece and kind of just bring it down a little bit. So select it. Hit the S key. This is scale it down. So hit S twice. About there for now. And we're also going to take this and actually extrude this out. So hit the E key, extrude, down, hit OK. Just trying to get this kind of somewhat set up. So now I'm going to unhide everything. it's still a little bit too big to fit into this space here. So I'm going to go in and actually scale it down a little bit more like that. And then I'm going to bring up the Z axis up. So we can actually say undo on that. So it's the same height. So basically I put 1 back there. And now I could actually move this up a little bit with the G key and Z. I'm going to move both of these up actually. So actually I did a QQ to attach them together as one. So that's QQ twice. And now I got it kind of in position. Move it over just a little bit, kind of like if it's completely on. All right, great. So that's that. So now I'm going to do text. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I don't want to go over complete text throughout this whole tutorial. But anyway, I'm just going to create the on button and the off button just to get things going. And then all the other buttons, I'll fast forward through that. You can slow it down if you need to watch it. But anyway, so I went with Roboto as the text. And it comes out really big always. And I'm going to take these two and just basically scale them down with the S key. Something looking like it should fit, and basically bringing it down to center off of this button. Of course, it's still too big and in the way, so I'm going to scale down a little bit more. And then I'm going to hit the G key to kind of move it a little bit. And it's going to be moved on to Z, actually, to bring it back up. So bring it up with the blue right above that space, just like that. And this is the way I always do my text buttons or text verbiage on objects so they stand out. I'll take them and I'll extrude them into the space. I'll do Q and then Shift Q, and then I'll bring the actual letters down deeper so they actually stand out. And that's a good way to do it. All right, so I'm going to do text again. This time I'm going to do the off. So let's type in off, hit OK. Again, this time I went down quite a bit to 0.10. Still too big, of course. And I got one too many F's. Okay, cool. And then we could bring down a little bit more. Something like that. Hit OK. And then I'm going to hit the G key and move it over. And I'm going to line it up with the other on. And just kind of reposition this. Again, I'm going to bring it back up with the G key on top here. And it's a little bit too small. As you can see, the O and the O. So I got to scale this up similar. So I'm trying to basically line it up with the O's. So they're about similar. I used the inner, so it's definitely not the right font on this one, but that's okay. Really hard to tell, to be honest with you. All right, so I'm bringing this down close to the bottom of this side. Hit OK. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to select the actual faces on the outside of the O, not the inside, and the N and the F's. And I'm going to get both of these words actually extruded into the actual existing object here. And I'm good with that. So now I've done that, I'm actually now going to select, first I'm going to say, actually hit the OK button, hit enter, and I'm going to take these now and just kind of bring them up a little bit higher. Hit OK. Similar to the off. Okay, now I can take these lines here and just basically delete those. And these as well. Select them all, and then we're going to hit delete. All right, cool. Now let's go and select this main object here. Okay, Okay, so now I got these made. I'm going to select them. Make sure I got the main object selected first, and I'm going to cut that out into that section. And then I'm going to do a Shift Q as well. So it's actually going to add the letters in. I'm going to actually delete these two upper pieces on the on and the off upper pieces. Delete those. Just like that. And this is kind of weird. It did do exactly like it should have on the O on that one. Okay, so I deleted that for now. And basically, I'm going to take these letters and kind of push them down into the space with the offset face. Just like that. Cool. Go hit the OK. And I'm going to actually select this line here. And I'm actually going to cap that. So I'm going to move that down a little bit more. Select this line. Delete it. Bring this up a little bit. So I'm going to select this one first. Hit the patch. Hit OK. And then the section here. Again, patch. I got those two taken care of. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to actually create another thing here with the disk. So I'm going to actually line this up with this. Bring it over on the center of that. And now I'm going to pull out a circle here. Actually, I'm going to be putting a bulb here, a red bulb, basically, is what I'm creating. Actually, I'm just going to use this to push into it. Hit OK. Again, select the main object first. And hit Q. All right, cool. Now we can select this and kind of pull this out. And I kept the actual piece there. So I said keep basically object. And I'm going to select this piece here and delete it. And again, I'm going to pull this more of a rounded, something like that. I'm going to do a Shift D, make a copy of it. I'm actually going to pull this up. Hit the G key, use the blue section, pull it up. Just like that. And we can select the face here and then extrude it into the space. Hit OK. Okay, now let's select this button and this. And we're going to hit the Q. And then Shift Q again. So we're going to select this piece now on top. And we'll delete that. And let's go and just add a little bit of fillets there, basically, on both sides of this. Okay, hit OK. And just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to use the actual sphere, and I'm going to go right down the center of this and pull this out. Now, it automatically does cut the actual object, which is fine. We really don't want that to happen, so we're just going to hit the X on that so it doesn't actually cut it. And we're going to hit OK. And then we can actually just hit G and move it down into the space like that. Hit OK. So now we select this object here. So we're going to hide that for now. And this. And we could also hide this. And what I want to do here is just bring this up. So I'm going to select the face here and bring it up. Or bring it down. Go ahead and cut into this. So Q. Hit OK. And that way it's kind of like in the space itself. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut this piece here. So this has a cap on it. So select it, hit the cutter. Select this, okay. Now I'm just going to delete that piece. Right now I'm going to hit the M on this and just make this red so it stands out. We're going to add an emission to this in Blender. And I'm going to make this piece transparent, just like that. Yeah, I also made sure I kind of cut that piece out in there. I'm going to pull this out too. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm going to select this piece over here and kind of put in another couple cuts in here to make it look nice. So I'm going to pull this across. I'm going to reduce this quite a bit though. I had way too many there. And get it closer, see what we're doing here. I'm going to just bring this down. It's way too high. All right, so let's go with that. And I think that looks good. Okay, see it. Okay. Now select this object. Let's go and hit the cutter. And we'll select these pieces right here. And hit OK. You can deselect that and hit the delete key. And those are all deleted. Okay, so I thought I'd go in and just start selecting all these inner pieces. I'm sure I could have done a better way of selecting these, but all right, so I figured a better way. So I'm going to select those, these. All right, so I select every other one of these just to take these pieces off. I just want to do the inside. All right, get the hang of it. Get it faster. I'll take these little pieces off too. This one here and this one. Perfect. All right, so I got all those now. I can pull this out. And then I went back and decided to go back to do a fillet. It's going to be much easier to select these things. So I decided to go the easy route. So select each of these sections here, and then we can actually pull this out. So let's keep going. Almost there. And one more. Okay, cool. Now we can hit the B key and let's pull this out. It looks a lot better. Hit OK. I'm going to select the bottom of this as well. I'll pull this out on the plus. Hit OK. All right, so I'm going to fast forward through this other part. This is the same thing as what we did with the on and off buttons. I'm just putting basically different letters on all these buttons, and it's the same process. So I'll just fast forward through this. So thank you for joining me. Have a great day.